सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. ॐ.
It is true what they say. You are what you think. If you think you are bound, you are bound. If you think you are free, you are free. You are the self, the solitary witness. You are perfect, all-pervading, one. You are free, desireless, forever still. The universe is but a seeming in you. Meditate on this. I am awareness alone, unity itself. Give up the idea that you are separate, a person, that there is within and without. You have long been bound thinking, I am a person. Let the knowledge, I am awareness alone, be the sword that frees you. You are now and forever, free, luminous, transparent, still. The practice of meditation keeps one in bondage.
So, since there are no questions, maybe Andrew can read from the transcripts of my guru, Swami Paramarthananda, until there is a question, and anybody who has a question can raise up the hand.
I've got a question, actually.
Yes, please go ahead.
What is reflected consciousness exactly? And what is its relationship to the body-mind complex? I'm unclear. Yes.
Okay. So let's use an example. We have a mirror and a face in the mirror. The mirror, the essence of the mirror is only inside the face or all in the whole surface of the mirror.
Say again.
We have a mirror and we have the reflection of your face in the mirror.
Yeah.
The reflection of the face, of your face, let's say, in the mirror, is it outside of the nature of the mirror?
No.
No. So the mirror itself and the face are one and the same, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But the reflection is not your face.
It's a reflection.
Yes. We need somebody who is looking. We need this I amness to recognize that this is a face and say this is the face of the appearance of the body-mind complex, Andrew, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Can we have the recognition or the perception of the face of Andrew without the I amness?
Not at all.
Not at all. So this is the body-mind complex. It is a reflection of consciousness in itself, by itself. And the body-mind complex believes, this borrowed consciousness, believes that it is a separate entity from the beingness itself, the isness itself. But the isness and the I amness does not belong to the body-mind complex. It is not the property of the body-mind complex. It is the property of itself. Consciousness, awareness, isness, I amness, Brahman, we may give it different names, but it is the same absolute reality. So there is no any inherent individual existence in Andrew, but Andrew borrows its apparent existence, its apparent appearance and recognition and perception through consciousness itself, which is only singular. The same we can use another for the same question. We can use another example. The example of containers with a liquid. We may have, let's say, 3 containers with water, and on the surface of the water, we may see the reflection of the sun. And we may see in these 3 containers, we may see 3 different sun disks, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But the sun is not there. It's only a reflection in the container's surface. The same with all the apparent individual beings. The apparent individual being believes that it exists as by itself and it has inherent existence. But in reality, it borrows its existence from the one singular existence, the one singular isness or I amness or presence or awareness or Brahman. And because of the reflected consciousness, the Sanskrit term is Chidabhasa, believes that it is a separate existence, an individual separate existence, but it is only an illusion. Isness, I amness, presence can only be singular, cannot divide itself. First of all, it is not a thing. You may take a piece of wood and separate it and divide it into 2 pieces, let's say, because it is an object. But can you separate consciousness? Can you separate presence?
No.
Can you separate awareness? So even if it seems that there are different apparent beings or individuals, it is only an illusion due to the power of consciousness and also due to the power of Maya. And because of Chidabhasa, the reflected consciousness, we can say, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. If it goes only Brahman, Brahman cannot say Aham Brahmasmi. There is no reflected consciousness there to say something like that. Brahman, don't say anything at all, don't do anything at all. And it provides only the substratum where everything appears and disappears. I don't know if you want me to elaborate more.
No, I understand.
Okay, any other question?
Hello. What's up? Actually, Nelly was before me.
Yes, Neelam?
Hello, Guruji. I want to ask, you mentioned, you gave
You
2
can open
examples.
your camera in the question.
Yeah.
Ask a question, can open the camera.
I'm unable to start the video.
No problem. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's done now. Okay.
Okay.
So, Guruji, you gave 2 examples to explain the reflected consciousness. Now, in both these examples, the mirror and the container, what is this mirror and container in our case, in individual? What are we referring this mirror and containers in case of us, Jiva? Where is this mirror? I mean,
yes,
what is it?
It is called ahankara, the body-mind complex, or the I thought, the belief that I am an individual identity. This is the reflected consciousness which appears in a particular body-mind complex. But it's because of that we can glorify our true nature. Because without the body-mind complex, we cannot glorify Brahman as our own nature. Because as I said earlier, Brahman don't say anything and cannot say anything and cannot do anything and cannot produce anything. It is akarta, abhokta, non-doer, non-experiencer. We need the Chidabhasa, the reflected consciousness, in the body-mind complex in order to be able to say, I am Brahman. I am an individual human being. I am aware of this flower. All this is due to the reflected consciousness, Chidabhasa.
So can we say...
Yes, sorry to interrupt you. Of course, the Chidabhasa reflected consciousness is not the physical body. It is in the Sukshma Sarira. Which of course comes from Karana Sarira. But all this is a huge topic that we have already discussed about it in the introduction to Vedanta through Tattva Bodha. It was our previous Zoom circle of classes. So I suggest to those who didn't study before Tattva Bodha or Introduction to Vedanta to download these transcriptions from my Guru Swami Paramarthananda, study it, and if there are any questions, we can deal with them in private satsangas. So feel free to organize, to arrange with Andrew a private satsanga, so I can cover possible gaps that you may have on this topic of where is exactly Chidabhasa, the reflected consciousness.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Okay, you are welcome. Yes, Emil, go ahead.
Hello, hi. This might cover the topic you just mentioned a little bit, but the past 2 weeks, I guess I've been reflecting and contemplating on what was said then. And I'm trying to, and I've also read the ASHTAVAKRA Gita a little bit further. And it's quite clear that the scripture holds the notion that the world is an illusion, that is unreal, that is non-existent, and it's a mere illusion of ignorance. So I have some questions with that, and I guess I'm having some trouble reasoning, especially regarding the dream analogy. You often find the term illusion or dream or hare's horn being used to describe the world.
Yes.
And I think, if we contemplate on this, then we must admit that it implies that the world is false and is of the nature of negativity. It has no true existence, right? So I have 2 questions with this. My first question is, where do these ideas and forms arise from then? Because even in the normal dream that we have, forms and ideas come from our actual experience in life. But here, the analogy seems to suggest that ideas and forms arise from nothing. And to me, this is illogical, because something cannot arise from that which has no existence, even if these ideas are just illusionary reflections.
Yes. First of all, everything arises not from nothing. This nothingness is an idea that comes from the so-called non-duality circles, which is not a true path, and it is only an illusory path. And it is also a fragmented version of Advaita Vedanta. The same with the so-called Neo-Advaita or Neo-Vedanta circles. So all these misconceptions or confusions comes from these circles. In Advaita Vedanta, we don't say, and the Upanishads themselves, they don't say that everything comes from nothing. Actually, nothing and something are only concepts. Advaita Vedanta don't say that whatever appears and disappears comes from nothing. It says that appears from Brahman, which is the only reality. So the isness, or the ultimate reality, is Brahman. It is not nothing. And Brahman itself is the absolute truth. And Brahman is infinite consciousness awareness, impersonal one. So from this, everything appears and disappears in itself due to Maya, another power of Brahman, the power to project all these universes and all these apparent beings and all the apparent objects. But whatever appears and disappears, it borrows its reality from Brahman itself. But Brahman is not nothing. This is due to the misconceptions and the illusions and the confusions from these circles.
My question then, is it true to say that the world is illusionary, has no existence, that it's just ignorance?
It is seemingly real, we say in Advaita Vedanta. It appears true, but it is not. But the essence of whatever appears and disappears is Brahman itself. So Maya cannot fall into the category of either existence or non-existence. According to Advaita Vedanta and according to Sanatana Dharma in general, we have Brahman, we have the absolute reality, and from absolute reality Brahman appears the Maya, which is Anandi, beginningless, and it is a power which has the capacity to project all these apparent universes, the apparent beings, and the apparent objects. But we cannot say that it exists or it does not exist. We say it seemingly appears. We say that it is like the dream. It appears, the dream, but it doesn't have inherent existence. So the big dream of life appears, but it does not have inherent existence.
Okay, I guess if I contemplate on that, then I guess, yes, I'm trying to rationalize certain things. I guess my question is then, if Brahman is formless and has no ability for activities and doership, then how can he create the notion of Maya? Because the notion of Maya stands in opposition. It is of the opposite nature of Brahman. So how can something support its opposite nature? That to me
Maya
is a contradiction.
Maya is not opposite or something negative. Maya is just the power in Brahman. Due to the infinite capacity of projection, Maya projects whatever you see. But there is no creation as such. In Advaita Vedanta, we don't believe in creation. There is no creation, and everything appears and disappears beginningless. Maya is Anandi, which means beginningless. And Maya is not something different from Brahman. It is just a power in Brahman. And it is not something bad. It is due to Maya that now I can say I am Brahman. I can glorify my true nature as Brahman due to Maya. If Maya was not there, Brahman wouldn't accept and say and do anything and say I am Brahman. It is due to Maya and the reflected consciousness, Chidabhasa, that somebody can say I am Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi.
So would it be true then, to conclude this, to say that upon self-knowledge, the world will not disappear, but I will know the world purely as myself,
Exactly.
and in which there is not an inch of separation, and I am God, and God is me.
Exactly.
That is true.
Yes.
Okay.
Whatever appears and disappears, whatever appears and disappears is because you support it. The essence, the background, or the screen of consciousness appears and disappears in it. Because you are the screen of consciousness, this background or substratum, everything appears and disappears. You support it, your true nature, and you illuminating it, you revealing it, you accommodating it. And God and Brahman are not distinct things from a meal. A meal is only an appearance in awareness, Brahman consciousness. But whatever appears and disappears does not have inherent existence. It's only an appearance, like the dream in the night. Whatever appears and disappears, we cannot say that falls into the category of non-existence at all, because it appeared. The same with the big dream of life. We say that everything appears and disappears due to Maya, due to the power of Brahman called Maya.
Mhm.
But that doesn't mean that it has inherent existence and it is permanent. So we say Brahman is Satyam, which means permanent reality. And we say Maya is Mithya, it is impermanent. So whatever appears and disappears due to Maya is impermanent. But Brahman is Satyam, permanent.
Okay, I guess my last question, and my very last question, sorry. It just seems to me also when I read the scripture that it seeks to negate the world. But if we look at these ideas and forms as dreamed up by God, Brahman, then is it not true that these ideas are his or her or its miracle, and they should be celebrated as opposed to negated, which is the tradition, which is the way we traditionally view the world and how it's taken. We should not focus on the world. We should pursue aestheticism or whatnot. We should negate the world. But if it is God's idea, then should we not celebrate it to an extent?
Of course, we celebrate life and we celebrate whatever appears and disappears. We only know the truth. In Advaita Vedanta, nobody said that you should not celebrate life. This again is due to the circles of Neo-Vedanta, Neo-Advaita, and the so-called non-duality fake teachers. Nobody said that life should not be celebrated. On the contrary, we celebrate everything as something beautiful, and we glorify our true nature. Whatever appears and disappears is due to our true nature as infinite, impersonal consciousness, awareness, or Brahman. And of course, when you say that everything is a creation of God, I want to repeat that for us, there is no creation. For Advaita Vedanta, there is no creation, there is only appearance. And also, whatever appears and disappears is beginningless. There is no a beginning point of creation as such. So whatever appears and disappears is in circles. We have the circles and the yugas in Sanatana Dharma. Everything is in recycling, in circles. We have the golden age, the silver age, the bronze age, the iron age, and again and again and again and again. So everything is beginningless. But there is not a creation as such with a beginning point in time-space continuum. Actually, we say in Advaita Vedanta that there is no time and space, and these are only concepts or thought forms. But God, because you mentioned God is not something distinct from you, and the same Brahman is not something distinct from you. You are God and you are Brahman. Of course, not as the body-mind complex Emil, but you as your true nature. And this true nature is only singular. There is no multiplicity of any kind or even duality. There is only Brahman and you are that. All the rest are only appearances in you, by you, and being known by you. But life itself is something to be celebrated, also according to Advaita Vedanta. You enjoy life, and you make the best out of life, and you respect everything in life, and you try to contribute as much as possible to life, to the society, to the humanity. we have the term loka sangraham, which means that we should contribute as much as possible to the upliftment of humanity. And also we need to contribute as much as possible into everything which we call ecosystem. In Sanatana Dharma, everything is respected. Everything is alive. Everything is true. Everything is for glorification because of its nature as consciousness. But consciousness itself is property of itself. It's not property of the body-mind complex or an individual being. So we is a wrong term. There is only that, and you are that, as Brahman consciousness awareness. And this isness, this beingness, is the absolute reality. And it cannot be divided. It cannot be multiplicity. The multiplicity is only an illusion.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? So if there are no any other questions, maybe Andrew can read from the transcript of my Guru Swami Paramarthananda until there is a question.
I've got another question.
Yes, go ahead.
How do you reconcile, because we're just talking about celebrating life and enjoying life, how do you reconcile doing the things that you like and your attachment to those things without thinking, oh, I'm doing something wrong, I shouldn't be doing this, I'm too attached to this? It's like this dichotomy between doing things you like and then feeling guilty because you're attached to them. And I want to know the answer.
Yeah, but simply, you can enjoy life, but without attachment. Simply, no, without any exaggerations and being a preference. It is okay to have the preference to enjoy a walk in the beach. But if you say, I will be completely unfulfilled and in misery because this moment I cannot walk at the beach, that is attachment. That is problematic. So everything becomes a celebration without attachment. There is no problem to enjoy life, but when something you want to enjoy makes you a slave is a problem. When you become a slave of everything, of the worldly things. And when it stops to be just a preference, but it becomes a need. Oh, I need that. Otherwise, I will be in suffering. I will not be fulfilled. But if you say, I am fulfilled, I feel fantastic, but I want to have a walk at the beach. And you go and you enjoy the walk at the beach. The problem is not to enjoy life. The problem is to avoid things which are non-conducive to self-realization. So the ultimate goal of life is moksha, self-realization. And there are things which are conducive to self-realization and things which are not conducive. For example, if you want to enjoy alcohol, this is not conducive for self-realization, even in small portions. If you want to enjoy drugs, this is not conducive to self-realization, even if it is only a preference, or you want to use drugs in small portions. But if you want to enjoy a beautiful dish of food, and it's just a preference and not a need, then it's not a problem. It cannot bind you. So binding comes from needing something and not only having it as a preference, but only with the exception of certain things such as alcohol or drugs or intoxicants of any kind, which are non-conducive to self-realization. For example, music. There is music which is elevating and music which is not elevating and with very awful vibes. You can put, for example, in plants, music which is like thrash metal, for example, or music which is very noisy, And you can see through experiments that the plants are trying to go to the opposite direction. But when there is beautiful music, the plants are growing towards the speakers. So it's not the music itself, it is the kind of music, again, as an example, of course. For example, Andrew is playing beautiful music, not noisy music. But some others, they play this so-called thrash metal music. This is not music, this is noise. This is demonic vibes, which is not conducive at all, even for pleasure and for happiness. What to say for self-realization goal? It's not conducive at all. It's not elevating. The same with food. There is sattvic food, rajasic food, and tamasic food. Sattvic food, for example, is conducive to self-realization. But if you eat all the time meat, this is not conducive. The mind will not be purified enough for these abstract and profound teachings of self-realization and Advaita Vedanta. So it goes like that. You can enjoy life, and you just need to avoid things which are not conducive to self-realization. If your goal is, of course, self-realization. There are a lot of people out there, so many apparent individuals who are not interested at all for self-realization moksha. They just want to have fun. But the law of karma will do its work. And after millions or trillions of lifetimes, they will be purified enough for the goal of moksha. And they will create what we call punyam, merits or good karma, and they will find a guru and the guru parampara, an authentic lineage, and this will lead this individual, apparent individual, of course, to moksha. But celebration of life is something very important. In Advaita Vedanta, we want to have fun. We want to enjoy life. It is wrong when these circles, these fake circles of non-duality or Neo-Vedanta or Neo-Advaita, they speak some things like you have to not to have entertainment, or you don't need to, you must not live in the world, or things like that. This is not the truth. You can live in the world, and you can serve the world and the society, and you can enjoy life. And there are so many beautiful arts. There is dancing, there is music, there is so many beautiful ways for entertainment and elevation of humanity. And especially, Andrew knows that in our upcoming ashram, we want to have a lot of different kind of arts. We have discussed already that we want to have music, we want to have dancing, we want to have all this that can elevate the people who are visiting us. But of course, with the proper way. Yes, it is. Unfortunately, there are so many confusions. This body-mind complex also have heard a lot of misconceptions about Advaita Vedanta, that, for example, that Advaitins are always without smiling, or they are somehow always melancholic. They don't smile, they don't have fun, they criticize the world, or they become very negative about the life itself. No, all this is confusions due to the so-called fake teachers, like non-duality teachers, because they try to confuse people to sell their webinars, their books, their retreats, and there is so much confusion out there. But in the authentic lineage of Advaita Vedanta, all entertainment is there, but in a conducive way. You can see Sanatana Dharma also, it is full of festivals all year long. There is almost every day, there is a festival and celebration of something. And people are celebrating, and it is wonderful. And it is due to Maya and due to these apparent universes that Brahman itself is glorified. Because Brahman, as I said earlier, cannot say, I am Brahman. There is the need of Maya for Brahman to say, I am Brahman. For the Chitabhasa, of course, the reflected consciousness, to acknowledge this fact. I don't know if you want me to elaborate more on that.
Just one comment. So, for example, it's obviously perfectly fine to go out for a meal with some friends or something like this. But what happens, say, if you notice you're getting too attached to one particular friend, and it's causing you emotional problems, you're too hooked. How do you then think, what do you do from there? You don't say to the person, I'm never going to see you again, I'm too attached to you. How do you resolve this kind of situation?
Yes, you can try to see how much is this attachment, and you can try to reduce it. Sometimes baby steps, it's much better than something that you do suddenly. Like if you have somebody that you are very much attached to this friend, and you want to see him almost every day, try to see this friend once a week, and then once every 2 weeks, if you want to be detached, and if you want to stop this attachment. But most of the times, baby steps is a better approach than to cut something immediately. In general, attachment of any kind, it is not conducive to self-realization. And why? Because all attachments, they have the problem that they are somehow reinforcing the idea that I am an individual human being. And they are reinforcing, they are maintaining this false notion. And this false notion is something that Advaita Vedanta wants to remove. No, you are not the body-mind complex. You are not an individual human being. You may enjoy that as a role, but as soon as you believe that you are this individual entity, there will come suffering. And suffering is due to the misconception that I am a limited human being, apart from others. And I am a part of this infinite universe, a small dot in these infinite universes. So this will produce a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, a lot of stress. And it is even logical. How to feel free, how to feel peaceful, if you always believe and you have this false notion that you are something like a dot in these huge universes, a small, so small part of these infinite universes. How you can feel security and peace. But what about when you see, through the help of Advaita Vedanta and the Guru Parampara, and the scriptural study, and Sravana, Mananam, Nididhyasana, when you will become certain, without any doubts anymore, that what I am is the supporter of all what I see, the supporter of all the entire universes, the supporter of all the apparent beings, all the apparent objects. And my true nature is this substratum, this background, this screen of consciousness. Then there is no suffering anymore. There is no anxiety, fear, stress anymore. There is no panic. There is only peace. There is only happiness, bliss. So that is the problem with attachments. They are reinforcing this false notion. Otherwise, Advaita Vedanta will say, yes, you can have as much attachments as you like. But no, it is not conducive for happiness, bliss, and peace on a permanent basis. On the contrary, it is conducive for suffering, pain, and disappointment. Because when you are investing of any kind in the worldly things with attachment, this sooner or later will bring you bitter disappointment, unhappiness, misery, suffering of any kind. So this is really the problem.
So if you've got strong attachment to a person, you can reduce that attachment by seeing them less, and you can monitor that attachment. But you don't have to abandon that person. You have to abandon the attachment, not the person.
Exactly.
And you can abandon the attachment by putting the teachings into practice. But temporarily you can not push them away, but see them less if the attachment is causing problems to your practice. So it's like monitoring.
Exactly.
Like this.
This is what we call the middle path. All great masters, they talked about that. The middle path, not exaggerations. Nobody said that it is bad to make love, but when to make love or to have sex, it becomes an obsession, and the only thing that you think all day long is sex, then of course it is a problem. Of course it will create suffering, and it is not conducive to self-realization. But if you have a permanent partner or a marriage and you make love in like middle path and you enjoy your marital status, it is completely legitimate. And the same to enjoy a beautiful dish, the same to enjoy friends, the company of friends. But when you say that if I don't see this particular friend every day, I will be unhappy and I will be unfulfilled, this, of course, it is a big problem. Because, for example, let me say, what will happen to you if this friend will die? How you will feel then if you have so great attachment to this friend? And that can be for every attachment. Some people have attachment into their career or into their profession or to their fame. And suddenly they become bankrupted, their business becomes bankrupted, and they fall suicide. They get suicide because they don't have something else. You know, they are their job. They are this role of this professional person. But all these are roles. To be a friend is only a role. Take the role, but don't become the role. Play the role, but don't become the role. Become a husband, play the role of a husband, but don't become the husband as your true nature. Play the role of a mother, but when you become the mother and nothing else, then it can create a lot of problems even to the children. There are so many mothers who become even abusive, like great abusers to their children because of their great attachment to this role of a mother. And the same with fathers, the same with husbands, the same with wives or friends. So all attachments can create a huge disaster. And this is the reason why in the scriptures we want to reduce them in the beginning and after gradually to diminish them completely. And the best solution sometimes is step by step, not suddenly.
Okay.
Anybody else? So if there is no any other question, maybe Andrew can read from the transcript of my guru, Swami Paramarthananda.
Page 4. Be like a lion. A lion does not think, A, I'm alone, B, I am helpless, C, I'm feeble, weak, D, I'm without support. They do not arise in the Magendra. For the lion, it will always roar, not like a lamb, meekly. A lion roars boldly all the time. As we grow old, many people around us will go. Every Vedantic student must use Jnanam to roar like a lion. For this, I have to change thought pattern based on Vedanta and change the language pattern. I'm ever free from helplessness, weakness, etc. This process is called nididhyasanam. It helps us bring about change of thought pattern. There is a famous work in this area, ASHTAVAKRA GITA, or Samhita. It's a nididhyasanam work. It is not primarily a teaching textbook, but it's a work to help the student who has already received the teaching, but have separated the teaching from their regular life. Teaching one side, samsara another side. Ashtavakra, the great rishi, is going to us. How long are we going to continue like this? Change the thought pattern and start claiming, I'm fearless, I'm free. Philosophically, this is true, and psychologically, the very thought helps us. In the introductory part, the story is there. It comes in Mahabharata. He is a great rishi, Ashtavakra. He gives this teaching to Raja Janaka. It has 20 chapters. Most chapters are very small, 298 verses. It's an independent Vedanta, nididhyasanam work. Even a non-Vedantic student will benefit from this. Even mere thought is useful. For a Vedantic student, this thought has real meaning behind it. This is a Vedantic nididhyasanam work. Verse 1. I might as well read the English. Master, how is knowledge to be achieved, detachment acquired, liberation attained? The text begins with a question from Janaka to indicate that the teaching has to be in the form of a dialogue. Oops. Excuse me. My text has disappeared. Sorry about that. In the form of a dialogue, the student must approach the teacher for teaching. Many people feel sannyasa is a prerequisite. Scriptures want to say, though sannyasa ashram is there, you can stay in society and benefit like Raja Janaka. You can never complain that you have no time. You may not know the value, but don't say you have no time. Janaka always finds time to speak to the rishi. Such a great jnani is the student. How can one gain knowledge? How can one go from world dependence to God dependence to self-dependence? How will that independence or moksha take place? We have to decide to use the teaching to change the thought pattern. Like I said in Neskarmya Siddhi class, whenever I have problems in life, where will I run? If I say people, I'm a samsari, if I say people, I'm a samsari. When I say God, I'm Bhakta Karma Yogi. If I say the teaching, then I'm a Vedanta student, Jnana Yogi. The day I decide to use the Vedantic teaching to handle my day-to-day issues, knowledge is my refuge. I will go to the teaching and choose the relevant portion to help me. I start implementing that, then I become a Jnana Yogi. Nishchayam, knowledge is my refuge. Sankalpa, hereafter I will depend on the teaching. Abhyasa, I start implementing the teaching. For any Vedantic student, whenever there are problems in life, the person will be reminded automatically about the relevant Gita teaching or Upanishad. I have to decide to use it. Nishkaya, Sankalpa, Abhyasasa. Janaka asked his guru, can I be Jivan Mukta? How can I develop this passion? How can I stop expecting support from outside? How long are you going to depend on others? Supports are not reliable. I should decide to stop seeking support from outside. This decision is called vairagyam. How can I switch over to self-dependence? Teach me this. The answer is the ASHTAVAKRA Gita. We have entered into the Vedantic textbook. We see the emperor surrendering to the teacher, indicating that a person has to give up social status or superiority status, must become a humble, simple student. He surrenders and asks for this knowledge. He says, "O Lord, please teach me. How can a person get spiritual knowledge and mukti, or liberation? And how is vairagyam attained?" There is a relationship between the three. I can't say this because the Sanskrit terms make the sentence meaningless. Verse 2. Name of moksha is independence from all dependencies. I learn to depend on myself. Self-dependence, moksha. This I attain gradually. Initially, as a samsari, I depend upon the world. We start with world dependence as samsari. When we find a problem in this, we want to get out of this and we go to the next stage. Veda has purva bhaga and antabhaga. It tells us gradually learn to depend less on world and increase dependence on God. This is karma yoga. In Gita, Lord Krishna says, a couple of verses, don't depend on the world, depend on the God. By leading a life of karma yoga, depending upon the Lord, or by this practice, you develop all the virtues. Therefore, initially follow karma yoga, then may you acquire all the virtues. A few are enumerated. Dependence on the world is poison. Give up that poison. May you acquire the nectar of virtues. Forbearance or mental strength is to withstand opposite experiences. Learn to withstand opposite experiences. Integrity of all the different layers of my personality, ensuring they are functioning in harmony, means, I presume, integrity. There's a lot of Sanskrit here. It's difficult to make sense of everything. What I speak, what I think, and what I do is aligned, then I'm a Mahatma. Non-alignment or disharmony with myself is anarjavam. Daya means compassion, a sensitivity of mind by which I can sense the emotions of others. Daya is sympathy or mental sensitivity. Next is contentment with regard to material accomplishment, avoidance of getting into the greed trap. If I'm not contented with material accomplishment, the whole life will be dedicated for getting more and more and more. I will always postpone spirituality. Learn to draw the line. Don't allow others to draw the line. The world measures you by material accomplishments. Draw a line, and for yourself and for your real self-esteem, learn to depend on spirituality. Satchiam is truthfulness, a subdivision of Arjavam. Arjavam is total personality. Satchiam is alignment of thought and word. Satchiam is included in Arjavam. Satchiam is mentioned separately as it is a very, very important value. Spiritual success requires truthfulness. Here it is truthfulness of speech. Satyam is used in two different contexts, philosophical and ethical. Brahman means Satyam, pure existence in a philosophical context. In the context of values, in ethical context, it does not mean pure existence. It's a discipline of life. You need not tell all the truth, since many truths disturb the people. When truth becomes himsa, don't tell the truth. You need not tell untruth. Not telling lies is Satchiam. This represents all 20 virtues of the Gita, chapter 3. taking a break.
So, any questions until now? How much more time we have?
About 9 minutes, 8 minutes.
All right. I just want to add a few things. What we try to do here is not to learn Sanskritam. So sometimes Satchitananda also don't know a lot of Sanskritam terminology. And this is not the goal of these classes. And if there are people who want to learn Sanskritam, my Guru Swami Paramarthananda is offering these classes with full Sanskritam knowledge. So all are free to enjoy the Sanskritam knowledge. But Satchitananda and Andrew are not trained in Sanskritam language. So what we try to do here is only to propagate the teachings of my Guru, Swami Paramarthananda, and this authentic Guru Parampara lineage, and to help in the understanding of the essence of the teaching. The teaching is there. It is from my Guru, Swami Paramarthananda. And what we try to do, I repeat, is only to help in the understanding. Because Satchitananda is a Westerner, may be helpful to speak in English and to try to help in the understanding. But that is all. The teaching is already there from my Guru Swami Paramarthananda. And also in our upcoming ashram, we have the promise from Sringeri Math to offer and to provide Sanskritam classes from Sringeri, directly from Sringeri Math. And all those who want to be engaged on this learning, it will be a great opportunity. And of course, Sanskritam is a wonderful spiritual language. And of course, it is very useful to study and to learn. But for us who are not trained, we just try to do our best and to propagate these teachings. So we only try to help in the understanding here. We ask for apologies for the incompetence of Sanskritam. And please focus on the essence of the teaching itself and to understand the teaching itself. And also I wanted to mention that if there is any misapprehension or something which is not clear through this body-mind complex called Satchitananda and the transcript itself, always the truth lies in the transcript. So because Satchitananda also don't speak perfect English, and the mother language of Satchitananda is Greek language, there may be possible mistakes in trying to express the teaching. So apologies for that, and also always remember that the transcripts are there, free to download from my Guru, and the source is there. So that's all for today. Thank you for your participation in the class, and we will see each other in the next week. So namaste to all.
Namaste.
Namaste.
पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.